Hello and welcome to the Autoimmune Dietitian YouTube channel. My name is Annie Rubin. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist and owner of Annie Rubin Nutrition. It's a private practice that I run out of my home in the Bay Area. So I work with adults struggling with a host of symptoms from underlying inflammatory and autoimmune conditions. And these clients deal with things like pain, fatigue, digestive issues, and just to reduce quality of life. So in my work with my clients, I help them implement a personalized nutrition roadmap designed to improve mobility, concentration, and energy levels to ultimately help them live a vibrant and fulfilling life. So the past few videos, if you've been watching them, I've been focusing on gut health. And I think a topic like this deserves a lot of attention because our gut health is so important in our healing process. And it doesn't matter if you have an autoimmune disease, an inflammatory condition, or if you are generally healthy, your gut health matters. So today I am talking about how you can shift your diet and lifestyle to support your gut and keep it healthy. Before I jump in, I just need to attach my disclaimer that the information in today's talk is not the substitute for the diagnosis, treatment, or care of disease by a medical provider. This is for informational purposes only, so please contact your qualified health professional for any changes to your medical care. Okay, so kicking it off with your microbiome and diet. So if you're not familiar with what your gut microbiome is, it is this amazing and very rich colonies of bacteria that live in your large intestine. And the microbes that live there are very adaptable. They can shift pretty dramatically in response to what you eat. And if you recall from my last videos, your gut microbiome is extremely important in managing many different processes in your body. Actually, 70% of your immune cells live in your gut, and your gut microbiome talks to your immune cells. So having a strong immune system is really dependent on having a really healthy gut microbiome balance. So there's a really interesting study that was published in Nature in 2013 that found that the gut microbiome can shift pretty dramatically and quickly in response to dietary changes. In fact, the study also found that the diet changes to the gut microbiome may contribute to inflammatory diseases, specifically inflammatory bowel disease. So because these microbes are so adaptable, it's important that we include foods in our diet to help keep them balanced and happy. So let's kick off this discussion talking about probiotic-rich foods. And I'll also say, if you are someone who hasn't been eating very well and you think you have, some unbalanced or dysbiosis in your gut, the good news is because your gut can shift so dramatically based on what you eat, you are actually able to change your health and change your gut microbiome for the better just by focusing on your diet, which is pretty awesome. Okay, so probiotics. What are probiotics? These are essentially good bacteria that we can introduce into our bodies to help keep our gut microbiome stable and happy. A recent study out of Stanford compared a plant-based high-fiber diet and a diet high in fermented foods and looked at the effect of the gut microbiome diversity and impact on the immune system. So what they found was pretty interesting. They found that the high-fiber diet over a short period of time did not really affect the diversity of the gut microbiome significantly. However, a high fermented food diet increased the microbial diversity and reduced levels of 19 inflammatory proteins in just 10 weeks. That is huge. These inflammatory proteins included interleukin-6, which has been linked to a number of autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis, issues with chronic stress, and also type 2 diabetes. So it might be a good idea to start increasing fermented foods in your diet. Foods in this category include things like sauerkraut, kimchi, if you can tolerate dairy, yogurt, kefir, and kombucha. But of course with the kombucha, you want to be a little bit careful because a lot of brands can make kombucha with a lot of sugar. So you just want to be a little bit more aware of that. And if you get, really daring and adventurous, you can actually ferment your own food, which is pretty cool. Okay, so the next food that I recommend to include in your diet to keep your gut healthy and happy are prebiotics. So prebiotics are foods that feed our gut microbiome. So to make the distinction clear, probiotics are actually bacteria and prebiotics are the foods that feed these bacteria. So prebiotics are actually carbohydrates that your body can't digest. So they pass through your small intestine and into your large intestine where your bacteria lives. The microbiomes feed off of these undigested starches, and they produce many important compounds that include things like vitamins, and they produce short-chain fatty acids, which have been shown to help regulate the inflammatory response. So there are a number of prebiotic-rich foods that you can start eating. My favorites include Jerusalem artichokes or sunchokes. Dandelion greens, I love dandelion greens. I will throw those into smoothies or salads. Garlic, onions, asparagus. It's now spring and the asparagus is in season and it's fantastic. Unripe bananas. So again, eating bananas when they're not quite turning brown, or you can actually buy green banana flour and throw that into soups and smoothies for just a little extra resistant starch. Apples. And then the last one is konjac root, which is a really kind of funky vegetable, but it's, if you've ever seen shirataki noodles, that is what they're made out of. And I love those. I eat those all the time. Okay, the last food group or kind of category I'm going to talk about are polyphenols. So polyphenols are antioxidant compounds found in many fruits and vegetables. So not only are these amazing to help reduce oxidative stress and help reduce inflammation, but your gut microbes also love to eat them. So you can find polyphenols in things like berries, artichokes, tea, dark chocolate, to name a few. They're pretty much in any colorful fruit and vegetables. Okay, the last kind of category I'm going to talk about, we've kind of covered diet. These are like my top kind of three groups of foods. So you have your probiotics, your prebiotics, and your polyphenols. So now let's talk about lifestyle, because your gut is affected by the things that you do and the things that you feel and the places you go. So my 3 tips for, changing up your lifestyle to kind of support that healthy gut. The first one is to reduce stress. Stress can be a major, major detriment to your gut. As you know, we have this gut-brain axis. Everything is connected. So if you are stressed, your gut feels that too, and it can actually affect the composition of your gut microbiome. So ways that you can reduce stress. There are a number of things you can try. Again, reducing stress is very personal. So sometimes someone can just do yoga and be good to go. Meditation helps some people. Some people actually need therapy to work on stress management. So there's things like cognitive behavioral therapy, EMDR, somatic sensoring, psychosomatic sensoring. There's so many different types of therapies you can try. So really the goal with reducing stress is you got to find something that works for you. So it takes a lot of trial and error. I personally meditate twice a day. I do try to fit yoga in, and I also try to go on walks and get outside, and that helps me to de-stress. Okay, the second thing is moderate exercise. So there is something, to say that too much of a good thing can be too bad, like worse for you and bad for you. And that actually includes exercise, which you wouldn't think of, but there is what we call a J-curve to exercise. So if you don't exercise, that can be inflammatory and not good for you. And then as you start to increase exercise, your risk of inflammation goes down. But then there's a curve that goes up. So the more you exercise, at intense levels, it can actually be detrimental to your gut. So what happens is that less blood flow is directed to your gut because it has to go to all the other areas of your body to support this high intensity exercise. So when you don't have blood flowing to your gut, you lose lots of nutrients. It can actually increase intestinal permeability, which you don't want. So again, focusing on moderate exercise most of the time is kind of where the sweet spot is in terms of gut health. And then the last thing is getting dirty, getting outside. So you need to be able to expose your body to all these different bacteria and microbes that are in our surrounding environment. We live in such a sterile environment right now because of COVID, and we're so paranoid of getting sick. But having that bacteria and introducing that into your body is so good for you. There's actually been studies that show that having a pet can actually impact your gut microbiome for the better. So if you have a dog or a cat, kudos to you. That's a great way to, continue to have diversity in your gut. So, getting outside, digging in the ground, getting dirty, that's a great way to kind of, again, support your gut health. So just to recap, today we focused on some dietary and lifestyle tips to support your gut. We talked about probiotics, prebiotics, polyphenols, and then, ways to reduce stress, including moderate exercise and getting outside and getting dirty. So if you like what you saw today, please hit the subscribe button and follow me on YouTube. I put out videos around every week or so, just talking about another connection between diet and inflammation and autoimmune disease. If you are interested in setting up a free consultation with me, you can go to my website, annierubin.com, and do that. And you can also follow me on Instagram at the Autoimmune Dietitian. I'm on Facebook, Annie Rubin Nutrition, and you have my website. Should be in the link in the notes. So that is it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and come back next week for another interesting video on food and nutrition and inflammation. Have a great day.